One thing that I've always noted is that Bernie Sanders is a man of his word. He's a man of character. And when Bernie makes a promise, he keeps that promise. And one thing Bernie Sanders promised was that no matter who, he would endorse the Democratic nominee. And that's what we saw today. Bernie Sanders has endorsed Joe Biden. Now, I know this move is going to be very divisive within my community, within the Bernie Sanders movement, within the broad American left. There's no way around that. Some people are going to be very angry today, and some people are going to support Bernie Sanders' move 100%. Some people in the middle, of course, but no broad consensus from the Bernie movement about whether this was the right move to make. There are going to be some people who fundamentally feel that the way the Democratic Party has treated Bernie, that Joe Biden's personal scandals regarding Tara Reade and others, and that the right-leaning ideology that Biden and many of the Democratic establishment support means that any reasonable Bernie Sanders supporter and Bernie himself shouldn't be making this endorsement. They should not at this stage, without either greater guarantees or without a better nominee, be supporting the Democratic nominee. And there are others who suggest that Bernie Sanders has always made this a commitment to back the nominee no matter who, and that defeating Donald Trump is a priority, as Bernie notes, and that, if only on marginal bases, there is harm reduction in seeing Biden become president over Trump, and therefore we need to make the right decision, follow Bernie, and support Joe Biden, even if it's not something that makes us feel all that great. Both of those positions are reasonable. My position right now leans slightly more towards Bernie's, although the Tara Reade issue is something that causes me grave concern. And it's something that we're going to continue to talk about on this channel, and it's something that isn't going away. But I do think that Bernie Sanders has made his point, and I think a lot of people are going to listen. But not everyone. And I'm not going to be mad at a single person who supported Bernie Sanders and yet at this stage feels they can't move with Bernie to Biden. And this is going to be a really interesting illustration that the Bernie Sanders movement was never all about the cult of personality that surrounded Bernie. That was a common criticism you heard from neoliberals. That was a common criticism you heard from the media and from the Democratic elite, that it was all about Bernie the personality and not about the movement or the policies or the vision. Yet in this moment, you're going to clearly see a good chunk of some of the most loyal Bernie supporters, even some people who worked on his campaign, frankly, say publicly that they will not endorse Joe Biden. Even if Bernie did, they won't be doing it. And that's a sign that this movement isn't just about one man, but about a set of ideals and how people will have disagreements. You are not a bad person if you follow Bernie Sanders with Joe Biden. I don't agree with that viewpoint. Neither are you a bad person if you cannot follow Bernie here because of Joe Biden being far too conservative or far too scandalous a figure at this stage for you to support. Both of those viewpoints are going to be welcomed on this channel. And I'm not fence sitting because, again, I'm probably leaning more towards Bernie's side if I'm being honest, although I'm not unequivocal on that. My point is that this channel, and indeed every progressive channel, should cover Joe Biden as he deserves to be covered. We should not become Biden fans, but nor should we just reflexively reject him as a matter of principle. Biden should get good coverage when he does good things, but when Joe Biden acts like Joe Biden, he should be covered negatively. So the default from my position is that as long as Biden keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to get bad coverage from me. As long as his ability to communicate is questionable, as long as he adopts right-wing policies, as long as he continues to disrespect progressives by offering them, concessions that do nothing to help young people, do nothing to help the poorest and most marginalized, I will continue to call him out. But if he adopts some of Bernie's policies, and I feel he's credibly doing so, I'll give him praise. And I think that that's what people deserve from progressive, independent coverage. Not connected to the Biden campaign, but realistic about how it stands as an alternative to Donald Trump, who no progressive, independent news source should ever support. That's my position. Some of you are going green. Some of you are going to go with Biden. Some of you are going to vote for no one for president. Some of you might check out from electoral politics. I fully get that. But right here, the goal for any progressive should be to look at this election with clear eyes as it develops. I have to say that there are some reasons to be somewhat hopeful, and I don't think I'm being unrealistic. Bernie Sanders already seems to have a better rapport with Biden than he did with Clinton. It seems that Biden, again, whether he's genuine or not, has made more of an effort to reach out to Bernie than Clinton ever did, and we're way earlier in the process. Bernie and Biden noted the desire to set up task forces to deal with some of the pressing issues facing the American people. I have no doubt that those committees will be disappointing, but they are set up nonetheless. And on a few key matters, there is an opportunity for Bernie Sanders to make notable headway. On the $15 minimum wage, for instance, today, Bernie Sanders made it very clear that he wants that as an absolute priority, and Biden agreed with him. Now, could Biden be lying? Of course he could be. Wouldn't surprise me if he was. Nonetheless, a $15 minimum wage, if nothing else, would be a massive improvement for the living standards of hundreds of millions of Americans potentially. Certainly dozens of millions of Americans. Certainly the very poorest people who are disproportionately young or women or racialized. A $15 minimum wage, if Bernie and Biden can work together to get that done, is a massive policy, and we shouldn't underestimate it. So my position right now is that I am still disappointed from Bernie Sanders dropping out. I actually thought he could have kept on for a couple more weeks at least. Nonetheless, I respect his decision. It is in keeping with Bernie Sanders' word, Bernie Sanders' promise, and Bernie Sanders' commitment to defeat Donald Trump. And while I know that not all Bernie people can move with him, many will, and that on the whole, we all remain committed to the same broad vision of a democratic socialist society. Let's not let this decision tear us apart. People who can't go to Joe Biden and people who are following Bernie to Joe Biden, both of them have their viewpoints. They should be respected. They should be heard out. If we let this tear us apart, we will not be in a proper position to help down ballot progressives, and we will not be in a proper position to run a democratic socialist candidate in 2024 or in 2028. Let's keep our eyes on the prize, and let's keep working together, even if we disagree on important issues from time to time.